What's up, you sick mother bluffers? In this one, we're going to the online streets. I'm buying into a 33 chips tournament on Pokerbros. I'll be using the term chips throughout this video because Pokerbros is technically a play money app, but those said chips can be exchanged for real money. So yeah, now that we got out of the way, let's jump into the action. I decided to late reg this tournament, so I started with roughly 13 big blinds. I'm down to 10 bigs when I pick up pocket jacks in the big blind, a very welcome sight. A player in middle position is going to open up the action by shoving for just under 5 bigs. It folds to me and I make the call. I'm up against ace-6 of hearts. We go heads up to a run out of jack, 3, ace, 2 hearts. I flop middle set, but don't get too excited just yet. My opponent flops nut flush draw and top pair, so they are still very live. I need to dodge hearts. The turn comes, the 8 of hearts, no! I'm going to need an ace, jack, 8 or 3 to win this hand, and the river comes, the ace of clubs. The Barry Greenstein to the rescue. I river a full house and stack my opponent. Great start to the tournament. Hopefully things keep going this way. A few hands later, I'm in under the gun with ace jack offsuit, and I open the action with a min raise. It folds all the way around to the small blind who makes the call, and the big blind comes along. We're going 3 ways to the flop, and it comes 6, 7, ace, rainbow. Blinds check to me. I continue for half pot, looking to set up a turn shove. The small blind folds, and the big blind check raises enough to put me all in. I started this hand with about 15 bigs, so I don't think folding top pair decent kicker is an option here. I call off the rest of my stack, and the big blind shows 4-5 for an open-ended straight draw. I need to dodge a 3 or an 8 to win. The turn comes a 5, which gives my opponent some additional outs. I still need to dodge a 3 or an 8, but now a 4 or a 5 would also give them the win. And the river comes, the jack of diamonds giving me 2 pair. I get a full double up. On to the next one. A couple of hands later, I'm in the big blind with 9 deuce offsuit. There's a min raise from the hijack. Action folds to me, and even though I have a very weak hand, I'm getting a great price to defend, so I call. We go heads up to a flop of 9, 6, ace, 2 hearts. I flop second pair. I check and float to the hijack player who goes for a standard c-bet of 8,500. I'm not folding just yet. I make the call. The turn is the 9 of diamonds, giving me trips. It also puts a second flush draw on board, so I'm not going to check this one. I bet 21,000 and the hijack makes the call. The river comes a pretty safe looking 10. I'm going to target an ace by betting on the smaller side. I fire for 34,000. The hijack makes the fold. I pick up a very nice pot. In the following level, I get dealt ace 5 suited in the small blind and action folds to me. I decide to make it 3x and raise to 15,000. The big blind clicks it back to 25,000. Interesting development. I decide to just make the call, and so we go heads up to a flop of ace, jack, 4, 2 hearts, 1 club. I flop top pair. I check and float to the big blind, and they continue for half pot. Kind of an interesting spot. The only hand I'm really worried about is pocket jacks. Since I'm holding an ace, it makes it less likely that I'm up against aces, ace king, ace queen, or ace jack, so there's a good chance I'm ahead here. Now, do I call or raise? I think the best play is probably to just call and let my opponent continue with hands I beat. I think if I shove, they'll only call with hands that beat me, or maybe a heart draw. It looks like they're setting up a turn shove, and even though I only have top pair with a weak kicker, I think I'm going all the way on this one. I make the call, and the turn comes a 10 of diamonds. Not the best card for me, as now king queen makes it straight. I check again, and as expected, my opponent shoves. I decide to stick with my plan and make the call, and the big blind shows pocket kings. Nice! I have them in super rough shape. They're going to need a king or a queen to win, and the river comes. No! They rivered the straight. They're going to take this one down. I'm back to square one with just over 10 bigs left in my stack. A couple levels later, I've been patiently waiting for a spot, and I get it when I pick up ace king in the big blind, starting the hand with around 7 bigs. There's a 3x open for middle position. Action folds to me, and I 3-bet jam. The middle position player is going to make the call, and they show pocket queens. It's the classic flip. We're going heads up to the run out. The flop comes ace 10 9, no sweat. Turn is not a queen. River is also not a queen, and I get a full double up. Let's go. In the next level, I pick up 6-5 offsuit in the big blind. Action folds to the button who limps. Small blind folds. I will happily see a flop for free. I check my option. We go heads up to a flop of 4-10-3 rainbow. I check and float to the button who fires a min bet of 10,000. I check raise to 30,000, hoping to take the pot down, but the button makes the call. Looks like I might need to improve. The turn comes an ace, so I don't make my straight, but if my opponent has a 10, this ace could be a scare card, although as played pre-flop and on the flop, I don't know what ace-x hands I could be representing here. In any case, after I check raise and got called, I now have a stack to pot ratio of 0.5. I have just over 4 bigs left, so I'm gonna go for it. I jam, and the button folds. Nice to get this one through. On to the next one. In the next level, and with just over 10 bigs, I get dealt queen 3 in the small blind. The button once again limps. I make a debatable call, and the big blind checks their option. We go 3 ways to a flop of 10 queen ace 2 clubs. Action checks to the button, who again goes for a min bet of 12,000. I'm not going to check raise this time. I do make the call for now, and the big blind folds. Heads up to the turn, which comes a 3 of diamonds, giving me 2 pair. Time to switch to value mode. I want to set up a river shove. I bet 24,000, and the button makes the call. The river comes. The queen of hearts giving me a boat. What a run out. I go with the plan and shove. Maybe my opponent can find a call with an ace, or maybe they have a queen. It doesn't look like it though, they fold. But once again, picking up a nice pot with a favorable run out from the blinds. Nice. A couple of levels later, I get dealt pocket 5s in middle position. There's a limp from under the gun. Sitting on around 7 big blinds, I'm going to shove. It folds back to the under the gun player who makes the call with ace queen. Interesting limp. We're going heads up to a run out, which comes jack 5-10. I flop a set, but my opponent flops a gut shot. I need to dodge a king to keep going in this tournament. The turn comes a5. I turn quads. I now have the nuts. The river is a 3, and I get a full double up. Let's go. In the next level, I'm still in survival mode, sitting on 13 bigs. I get dealt ace-9 offsuit on the button. When action folds to me, I'm going to try and pick up the blinds. I shove. The super short stack small blind is going to make the call, and the big blind gets out of the way. I'm up against king 7 suited. We're going heads up to the run out, which comes 9-8 ace rainbow. I flop top 2. I have my opponent crushed. The turn comes another 8. It's GG for my opponent. River is a 7, and I'm going to take down the pot and add some much needed chips to my stack. In the following level, I get dealt ace-9 on the button. Once again, action folds to me. This time, I decide to go for a raise to 65,000. Small blind folds, but the big blind is going to make the call. We go heads up to a flop of 10-6-3 all clubs. I flop a flush draw with the 9 of clubs. Small blind checks to me. This opponent is pretty sticky, so I decide to check back and see what develops on the turn. The turn comes the 8 of spades, giving me a gut shot straight draw. When a small blind checks to me for a second time, I'm getting the sense that they're pretty weak. And now that I have both a flush and a straight draw, I decide to bet and set up a huge river shove. I fire a small bet of 35,000. If my opponent calls, I'll have a stack to pot ratio of 1, and I should be able to get them to fold all their weaker hands. They do end up making the call, so we're headed to the river, which comes the jack of clubs, giving me the 4th nut flush, and the small blind checks to me for a 3rd time. Looking back on this hand, I'm not sure what my thinking was, but I decided to stick with my plan on the turn and shove, which seems like a really reckless move. I have a ton of showdown value. I'm not getting called by a weaker hand. I'm probably not getting a bigger flush to fold. In any case, my opponent ends up folding, so I pick up a really nice pot, but yeah, I don't like this shove on the river at all. The very next hand, I get dealt ace-queen in the cutoff. Action folds to me, and I open up the action to 65,000. Button is going to make the call, and the blinds get out of the way. We go heads up to a flop of 3-7 king rainbow. Super dry board where I can easily represent aces, kings, ace, king, king, queen, so I go for a standard small c-bet, and it gets the job done. And with this, we are now at the final table. We're not in the just yet though, as only 6 players get paid. Since we were playing short-handed before merging tables, the blinds have made quite a dent in my stack. With just over 7 bigs, I'm actually the shortest stack at the table, so I'm going to have to make some moves. And getting dealt ace-king in the small blind should help. Action folds to the current chip leader in the hijack, who open shoves. Action folds to me, and I happily make the call. Big blind gets out of the way, and the hijack shows ace-jack. I'm in a great spot to get a full double up. Let's hold. The flop comes queen 7-6 2 spades. I got spades covered, so no sweat there. The turn comes to 10, giving my opponent a gut shot straight draw. I definitely do not want to pair up my king now. And the river comes, the jack of hearts, pairing up my opponent, but giving me the nuts straight. I get the full double up, and not only that, I go from shortest stack at the table to second in chips. I'm now in a great spot to go deep and even take down this tournament. The 2 shortest stacks busted shortly after this hand, so we're now in the let's go. Here's a look at the payouts. Let's get back into it. In this one, I get dealt ace-queen in the big blind. Action folds to one of the short stacks in the cutoff, who open shoves. It folds to me, and I make the call. They show ace-jack. Once again, what a great spot. We're going heads up to the run out, which comes 3-10 king. Very similar spot as the hand before, where I do not want to pair up my queen, as that would give my opponent the nut straight. If they pair up their jack though, that gives me the nut straight, so basically I need to dodge a queen. The turn comes a deuce, and the river is a 7. Let's go. I pick up the pot, and I'm now in the chip lead. I bust a player, and we're headed into 5-handed play. The very next shuffle, I pick up pocket jacks in the small blind. Under the gun folds, the cutoff min raises to 120,000, and the button calls. Kind of an interesting spot because I'm first in chips. I've got a 3-1 chip lead over the shortest stack, who's sitting on 5 big blinds under the gun, so unless they find it double up, they're most likely going to bust in the next couple of hands. I also have a decent advantage over the other stacks at the table, and I would really hate to give that up now. For all those reasons, I decide to just call, and the big blind is going to fold, so we're going 3 ways to a flop of 4 deuce ace 2 clubs. I start things off with a check. The cutoff fires a c-bet of 120,000, and the button folds. I think the cutoff is continuing with hands such as ace-king, ace-queen, king-queen, and some under pairs to my jacks. I'm very confident I have the best hand, and I know this opponent has a tendency to c-bet a little too often. I don't want to take any chances at this point though. I need to protect my hands, so now I decide to put them all in, and they make the fold, and I'm now sitting comfortably in first place. Nice. As I suspected, the short stack player has busted, so we're now 4-handed. I get dealt ace-king on the button. Action folds to me, and I'm going to keep things simple here and shove. Small blind folds, but the short stack big blind makes the call with ace-queen. Let's go to the run out. The flop comes 7-4 ace. The turn comes a queen. No! River is a 9. And instead of busting and going 3-handed, the big blind is going to double up, and we're now all pretty much even stacked. In the following level, a big hand has left the button player with less than 1 big blind, and I'm now 3rd in chips. I pick up pocket 9s from under the gun. I have a pretty straightforward shove here, and the button is the only player who's going to make the call, and they show queen 9. Fantastic spot. We're going to the run out, which comes 10-8 jack. They flop the straight. And now it's me who needs a queen, not even to win, but to chop. The turn is the 3 of clubs, which does open up a flush draw for me. Can I hit a club to win and go 3-handed? Nope. The river is the king of spades. My opponent finds a double up, and we are still 4-handed. That double up was not enough for my opponent to survive. They've since busted, and we are now 3-handed, and it's me on the short stack. So when I get dealt ace-7 on the button, I have an easy shove. Small blind folds, but the big blind calls, and they show pocket 10s. Damn, I am way behind as we go to the run out, which comes 2, 5, queen, 2 diamonds. No help for me. Turn is a king. This is it. Looks like it's going to be 3rd place for me. And the river comes. The ace of hearts. For the 2nd time in this tournament, the Barry Greenstein gives me the win. The full double up, and now my opponent is severely short stacked. Unlucky for them, but I'll take it. They end up busting not long after this hand, so we are now heads up. Let's go for the win. It doesn't take long for us to get it all in as I get dealt pocket 7s in the big blind, and my opponent goes all in. I snap call, and I'm up against ace 4. What a great spot. If I hold, I'll have a 2-to-1 chip lead over my opponent and be a step closer to taking this whole tournament down. We're going to the run out, which comes 3 King 8 Rainbow. Turn is a 9. Clean so far. Can I dodge the ace for the full double up? No! My opponent hits the miracle ace on the river for the win. I guess it's live by the berry, die by the berry tonight. GG to my opponent. I finish in second place, booking a win of 455 chips. I was in for 33, so that's a profit of 422 chips. We'll get him next time. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck at the online and live tables, and I'll catch you in the next one.